In this video, we're going to go over 6 ways that you can improve your CLS score on a WordPress website. If you're watching this video, you've already figured out that you need to improve your CLS score, but you may not know exactly what that is. CLS, or Cumulative Layout Shift, is a core web vital metric, and it measures how visually stable the page is. The visual stability is calculated by how many unexpected layout shifts occur without interacting with the page. Every time that the content shifts, not because that you clicked on a link or so on, that counts as a layout shift. And the sum of all these layout shifts determine the Cumulative Layout Shift score. And you can probably imagine how annoying it is for the user experience if the content is consistently shifting. And that is exactly why CLS is one of the 3 core vital metrics assessing a page's user experience. If you didn't know, CLS accounts for 15% of the page speed score, and it's a highly relevant metric for user experience and also a new ranking factor. Therefore, this issue could also affect your SEO performance. Now, you may be wondering, what exactly is a good CLS score? A good CLS score should be equal or less than 0.1. A CLS score between 0.1 and 0.25 means that the performance needs improvement. And the grade is poor if CLS is more than 0.25. Now, if you haven't measured your CLS score yet, I'll leave a link below to an article where we go over how to do it step by step. But for this video, our main focus is to help you improve it. And let's do that right now. Here are our 6 tips to help you improve your CLS score. Number 1, include width and height size attributes on video and image elements. Images and videos without dimensions are a common cause for a layout shift. If you don't specify the width and height size attributes, the browser doesn't know how much space to actually allocate while loading these elements. And likely, the space reserved won't be enough. As a result, once these elements are fully loaded, they will take more space than expected, and the content already displayed will then shift. And in case you didn't know, WordPress does add image dimensions by default. So this action should be automatically solved. But in case you're facing any issue, keep in mind that our number 1 WordPress caching plugin, WP automatically includes any missing width and height values to images. Number 2 is to preload fonts and optimize them. Web fonts can cause layout shifts, plus a pretty unpleasant user experience while rendering the page. On the one hand, you could see the text on the page with a not so good style. This is called Fout. It's because the custom font takes a bit to load. So in the meantime, you'll see the fallback font. But once the custom font is ready, it will replace the fallback one. You'll then see the font changing on the page, and the content will inevitably shift. On the other hand, you could wait a bit before seeing any text displayed. It's because the custom font is still being loaded, which is known as foit. In this case, you'll see the content on the page only after the custom fonts have been rendered. And then once fully loaded, that content may cause a layout shift. As a best practice for avoiding these layout shifts, you should preload fonts. By preloading fonts, you'll tell the browser to load the fonts as one of the top priority resources. Now, the browser will likely include the fonts in the first meaningful paint. And if you don't know, that's when the page's primary content is fully loaded and displayed. So in that case, you will have no layout shift occur. Now, you can do this by adding the rel equals preload to the key web fonts. Also in our plugin WP, you can just include the URLs of the font files to be preloaded, and it's done for you. I do want to note though that it's useful to enable this WP option only if you have not activated the remove unused CSS feature. If remove unused CSS is activated, you don't need to activate the preload fonts option. Also, you can convert the icon fonts to SVG. Font icons take a while to load and do not help your site's accessibility. Using SVGs, the font will render faster and you will load the exact fonts you need. And you can make multiple font formats available. What I'm showing you right now is a screenshot with some information about font formats that you may find helpful. And if you want to find a link to the full blog post, I'll leave that linked below. So with having multiple font formats available, the browsers will pick the compatible font and only load its fonts. Or you can also choose to host your fonts locally, which I'll leave an article linking to below where we talk about doing that. As well as you could also use a CDN like Rocket CDN to cache them. Number 3 is to manage space and size for ad slots. Now, this same dimension issue for images goes for ads, embeds, and iframes, and we'll talk about embeds and iframes next, so don't worry. Once again, not reserving enough space makes these dynamic elements push down the content already displayed. So there are 4 solutions to actually help you avoid this. You can assign fixed dimensions to the ads, so that way you'll reserve enough space for the ads to be loaded. You can reserve the biggest possible space for ads. In this case, historical data will come in handy to actually assess what is the best dimension for each ad slot. You can keep every space reserved for ads that have not been displayed. In other words, you shouldn't collapse any area on the viewport. You could rather include a placeholder or a fallback element. And you can also place non-sticky ads in the middle of the page. The delayed JavaScript execution feature provided by our plugin can also help you control dynamic content above the fold, just like Google Ads. Number 4 is to then manage space for embeds and iframes. The recommendations for managing embeds and iframes are similar to the ones used for ads. In particular, you should pre-compute enough space for these elements. Once again, historical data can be useful to understand how much space you should actually reserve. And a placeholder or a fallback is an excellent solution to manage the unknown embed size. Number 5 is to manage dynamic content. Dynamic content such as banners can also affect your CLS. This is why you should avoid displaying new content unless it's triggered by a user action. Once again, you can take advantage of the delayed JavaScript execution option provided by our plugin to control dynamic content above the fold. And by managing dynamic content, you'll take care of the following page speed recommendations. Avoid large layout shifts and avoid enormous network payloads. Number 6, prefer the CSS transform property for animations. The last best practice to ensure visual stability is to take care of animations. You can use the CSS property transform, which doesn't trigger any layout changes. So there you go. Those are our 6 tips. Now, if you found this video helpful, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help us out. And if you're also struggling with any other core but vital metrics, check out this playlist right here. Goodbye and have a good day.